Amos was a prophet, right? Mm-hmm. And his job was to make some points with the people. Ancient prophecy was not, as many people think today, looking forward and predicting what's coming. Prophecy in the days gone by, the prophets, what they did is remind the people of where they've come from. So, that's Amos' job. So what's he do? Pulls out a plumb bob. There we go. And holds it.
Amen.
What's the point of a plumb bob?
Reference.
It's a reference. You remember anything about it? Begins with an S. Make sure things are straight. It's a standard. So in other words, the plumb bob, this is why I think Amos uses it. The plumb bob, if I am, guess what? The plumb bob points it out. If I'm this way, guess what?
Oh, that's good.
The plumb bob points it out. So, when Jesus pulls a plumb bob out, when Amos pulls a plumb bob out, he's saying, we've got some things to talk about as a prophet, and that's what prophets did. Every once in a while, I think it's fair to say, individuals and communities need to take a good look at how they live in relationship with each other. And be reminded of some things that are important, like Amos's plumb line. Oh, my wife would not like that. Don't tell her. And Amos, as they say, was a prophet of Israel, and he needed to challenge Israel to take a look at some of the things they are doing and not doing by using that plumb bob. So he asks the question of the people of Israel that are standing in front of us. I'm going to do the same here. Do your actions, O people of Israel, reveal what you say you believe in? Are you standing straight when it comes to how you act with other people according to what you believe? Every act, the premise here that every act anybody does, that you and I do, is determined by some internal standard. Some inner sense that you hold of right and wrong that is that central standard. It's kind of like that plumb line against which you measure your behavior. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how educated you are, doesn't matter if you are conservative or liberal or wealthy or poor or intelligent or not so much. It doesn't matter if you practice social justice. It doesn't matter if you just do personal religious narcissism. Because deep down, each one of us has a moral standard that determines how we act. And it's based on our past relationships. It's based on our upbringing, our personal faith, and our life's experiences. The parable of the Good Samaritan, then, is in a way Jesus' plumb line to measure ourselves against when it comes to personal relationships. So, the question before us this morning, my friends, and I'm sorry to do this, but it's a hard one, and we're going to address it. It's a hard question. What drives our actions towards other people, especially strangers, or those we know we don't like, or those we know who scare us or don't share our values? There are two choices Jesus puts before us in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Remember, it's plumb bob. The story is this. Let's say that you are the Samaritan, okay, in the story. The journey is hard. The road to Jerusalem is dark. There are no signs. No street lamps, it's just you and your plumb line. Your inner sense of right and wrong and the rest of the world. Samaritans had faith, there's no doubt about that. So that's part of your inner plumb line, your standard of your behavior. Along the way, you see a Jew in the pits who'd been beaten up by robbers, and he's hurting. Samaritans and Jews never ever got along. From day one, they really did not like each other. That too is part of your behavioral moral standard, your plumb line. So the unspoken question that Jesus puts before the seeker and you and me is, what does your inner plumb line, your inner sense of what's right and wrong, what does it tell you in this particular situation where you, a Samaritan, encounter a Jew? Somebody who doesn't like you and somebody you don't like. The priest's internal plumb line told him this, that even though a Jew like me, this man might be dead, and it was a no-no for a priest of the Jewish faith to even touch a dead man. He would be ostracized. So what does the priest say? I'll steer clear. Let someone else who is not a priest help this man out. The Levite's internal dialogue, the Levite's internal plumb line, his moral standard, told him this: that man screwed up. That's how he got in this mess. It's his own fault. Let someone else help him. I have a mission for the good of my people and for the good of my family that I have to be about. So these three men, the Levite, the priest, and the man in the ditch, were all Jews. To me, that's incredible. They were all Jews. So here is what I see. The priest and the Levite, to pass one of their own kind by, says to me that something else was more important to them than one of their own kind hurting. More than what they believed about God and God's ways. The ways of the world were more important to those two guys than the ways of their faith. Samaritan, you and I. Samaritan comes along. The Samaritan has to make a choice too. Samaritan thinks to himself, he's a Jew, and we don't trust each other. I'll just keep going. That's one choice he had. Just let the guy lie there. He's a Jew. I'm a Samaritan. Or it could be, he thinks to himself, it could be me down there. He's a human being just like I am, and therefore I need to help him. I will put our differences aside and I will reach out to him. Two choices. Close down or open up relationships between every person, regardless of the external appearance of the person. Now, let's forget now that you're the Samaritan. You are now a human being living in Osprey Church at 103302. You have also two choices when it comes to how you act towards other people. Particularly those, I must say this, particularly those of a different race, political bent, nationality, or faith. Here's where it gets a little hard. Some of you may be mad at me, that's fine. Got to address this because Jesus does in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Remember, I'm speaking here not about how we act towards those who like us. That's a piece of cake. The hard choice is, how do we relate with someone we know will never, ever see it our way? The bottom line is this. And I throw this at you. Do you personally do good things to and for other people because they are like you? Do you personally, does your inner plumb line, and mine, I'm talking to me too, I'm not just yelling at you, I'm dealing with this myself. I have to live in the same country you do. Does our inner plumb line lead us to do good to others to earn a place in heaven? I don't get that. You know why? Because we already are in heaven. If heaven is to know God's presence with us personally, right here and right now, then we have what we are looking for. Or does your inner plumb line, your inner compass, your inner moral software, whatever you want to call it, lead you to act, catch this, to act in the same way, with the same grace that God acted towards you? To practice what you hear God say to you. This. The relationship between you, this is trying to imagining God speaking here. God telling you that the relationship between you, where whoever you are, wherever you are in your life, and me is so important, I will not close the door. I will not set up barriers. I will not withdraw into anger. I, your God, will not hide from you, even if you choose to hide from me. And why? Why does God do this? Because this is what God wants in the relationship between you and him and God. This is how God relates to you and to me. And we got a word for it. It's called grace.
Grace, grace, grace.
Grace. It's called grace. To stand... I'm sorry. I left out a whole page. We can go on and see if I... Okay, I can do this. See, you know what the problem is in our relationship with God, and I've done a lot of thinking and talking about this, is that human nature, being made in the image of God, tends to make their own gods. We want to make our own gods. We want to have a God that's easier to see, more familiar with, that makes us happy. We all do it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what it is, the God you make and bow down to. But we all do it because that's what human nature is. What happens then is we slowly, if God's over here and I'm making my own gods, what do? Slowly, bit by bit. And I can imagine God's over here saying, oh, turn back to me. Turn back. I want to have a relationship with you. And what is Ev saying? No. I want that congregation with 500 people in it. You know, we slowly turn away. We make our own gods. We bow down to them. What happens is, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, we ease God out. What does God say? What does grace say? Grace says, you may try to ease me out. I'm not going. We, folks, are just the kind of stranger to God as there are many strangers to you and to me. Think about that for a minute. God is out here waiting for a relationship with us, and we turn our backs on God because there are other gods that are more palatable. But we do it, though. We should. Well, I'm not saying that. But we do. And God is out here saying, I will be with you no matter how you treat me. I'm of the mind, and I'm totally off my notes now. I'm of the mind that that is what you and I are called to do in our relationships with others. You know, you've seen what's happened in our culture today. I'm going to close in a minute with a story that I heard yesterday about where a lot of people are reaching out in tremendous anger towards people who are of their same nationality. I don't know about you, and I'll be honest with you. I think we're in a very bad state right now. Because what we've done is, here's God, remember, God's out here. What have we done? Closely turned our back and even cut down on our relationship with God. But the point I want to make is the grace of God is such that God says, hey, you may ease me out of your life. You may want me to go away, but I'm not going to go. In other words, God extends the relationship no matter where we are.
Amen. Amen.
And I think here it is. I think to stand in the path and look at the person who you might in your own heart say is out to get me or kill me. I've heard this so much lately. We've got to get them because they're going to get us if we don't. That's, I will tell you. What are you going to do? Is that what the parable of the Good Samaritan is all about? Going out and killing them before they kill us? I don't know. You have to make your own mind up. But I'm arguing for grace. If God treated me that way at walk, guess what? I'd be very alone, no faith, no redemption, no salvation, no grace. And I'm saying to you that I think, as I read the parable of the Good Samaritan, and the plumb line, and the standards we use to make our own behavioral judgments, can go two ways. It can be how I live or choose to live with people I can't stand or I know cannot stand me, or am I going to live towards others the way God lives towards me? To stand in the path and look at the person who holds no views like ours, or looks so weird, or dresses so strangely, or follows a different faith plumb line, and say to that person, I will be present with you as I know God has chosen to remain present with me. I will do towards you what God has done towards me. I think that's a moral plumb line that can make a huge, huge, huge difference in the way we live with each other. Yesterday, and then we'll wrap it up and go on. Yesterday I was at a ordination for the new associate rector down at St. Mark's in Venice. Wonderful person, nice human being. She's going to do really, really well. I love ordinations because they always remind me what happened to me 4 years ago. Anyway, the bishop preached, and he got in the pulpit, and one of the things he said was, he was talking about the trouble we're in today with last week with all the shootings and things like that. And he said, somebody said to him, wouldn't it be nice if Christ returned today? I was sitting next door to a friend, and I whispered to her, and I said, I know what I'm preaching on tomorrow in church, the Holy Spirit. Wouldn't it be nice if Christ returned today? Which we all will answer yes. But here's what I want you to think about. What if, by yours and my witness, and by that I mean the way we act towards others, suppose how we choose to do that reveals that in fact Christ is here. We talk about the mission of the church. And folks, feeding the hungry, reaching out to those who are poor is extremely important. Now, don't misunderstand me. But I think all of those things, the main mission of the church is to be as Christ was in the world.
Amen.
Christ, we don't have to wait for Christ to return. If we accept how great God's grace deals with us and deal with others the same way, guess what? We are modeling the behavior of Christ. This is what faith is, isn't it? We are empowered by the grace of God to bring Christ to others. Maybe Christ returns when a person who expects us to be hostile towards them all of a sudden sees in our actions towards them the presence of God's grace towards us. We are acting towards others the way God acts towards us. I think for some to hear these words, I do not know you, I really don't like you, but I am with you anyway, because I know how God has acted towards me.
Amen.
And I think if we start putting our anger aside and all the things that get in the way of relationships and really do a plumb bob look at our own lives and ask ourselves the question, how can God still love me when I do nothing but try to get God out of my life? And God still says, I am with you. And live out of that energy. I think we could make a huge difference in this nation and in how people in this planet live with one another. It starts with you and your plumb line, and your thoughts, and your inner compass, and mine, and how we deal, when we will have to, with that person we don't really want to know. Because that's how God treats us. I think this is so cool. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.